And instead of talking about, hey, how much money I need, how many X, this product is going to bring, to the investors, he started off by saying that, hey, we're going to solve the neighborhood crime problem, right? So, and of course, that went on the story that, he got, funding and Amazon bought his company for like $1 billion. And he's become really, really successful. So what we learned from this is that his strategy on presenting his product isn't about the financial projections, isn't about the facts. And as a matter of fact, he was able to convince his investors on solving a problem that everybody understands, right? And then he went on and say, hey, my product is a Wi-Fi connected doorbell, and it has like security cameras. And so then he talked about the features. So as product managers, I think we have, I know we do a lot of things, and a lot of people are always wondering about what exactly do we do. I wanted to kind of sum it up, the two things that we do. One is to get products out to the door. We need to figure out, all kinds of tricks, in the book to get products out to the door. And then the other part of our job is to communicate and convince our customers to buy them, right? So, it's not simply just the products are out on the door, and if the customers don't buy them, we're not successful. So to think about actually telling the story, being able to convince people to buy our products is actually 50% of our job. So this is why, storytelling is so important, right? So today I wanted to go into like 3 parts. One is, why is storytelling so critical, for product managers? And what are some of the, case studies that we can kind of review together? And also, what are some of the tips so that you can practice? We all have to practice. I'm still practicing on how to tell a great story. If you listen to the TED Talk, Simon Sinek, he was saying that start with why. Why do we need to tell a story, right? So storytelling simplifies. My 70-year-old mother often asks me, what exactly do you do for your job, right? So it's really hard to explain that, oh, Mom, I'm building this SaaS, platform, and I'm going to be charging customers a subscription, and they're going to be buying these Cisco equipment, but then on top of that, they need to pay us. She is never going to get it, never, right? So, and prior to that, I also built a content management system for sales and partners. And in order to explain to her exactly what I do, I just used a Netflix story. So I said, Mom, you have Netflix subscription, and you don't know what movies to watch. So you log on to Netflix, and they have these recommendations, like new releases, recommendations based on your profile, recommendations based on the movies that you've watched before. So the same thing. I just build sales content for sales, based on their profile, right? Based on who they are, who they're selling to. And also I built content management for partners because they are slightly different. But it is simply the same thing. It's, instead of watching movies, they're just getting these content like collaterals and marketing materials based on who they're selling to and what are some of the deals that they're lately, working on. So she gets it, right? So she gets it. The other thing about why we're telling the story, because story engages us, with our emotions, right? So one of the ads, if we were to say, oh yeah, there are these African children, there are millions of them, hungry, and we need millions of dollars, to save them. And it's going to be, hey, can you donate $10 a month, right, to save these children? $10 is only, can't really buy you lunch in San Francisco. So I don't think that's going to work, right? But if you have an ad and say, and with a starving child, and say, I'm starving and you're not, can you help? It just kind of gets you to think about and connect you with the emotion level, right? The emotional level of why we need to donate, why we need to buy this product. Another reason is that storytelling is memorable. So remember the childhood stories that you have about Cinderella. We all know what happened to Cinderella. We know what happened to Pinocchio. Those stories just kind of stick with us. We never forget them because, we may tell it a little different way. We may even localize it, right? So instead of a Cinderella story, we may have like some other story in, Mulan, perhaps, or Moana, or other like similar princess stories. But they're very memorable. In fact, it isn't just how we feel. There's actually science behind it. So there are actually scientific studies that say that if you just tell something like a fact, probably 5–10% might be memorable, but if you tell a story, 60–70% of it will be memorable. And it actually affects, 7 areas of your brain. So there's scientific proof that stories are sticky. So then I wanted to go on and kind of look at what are some of the things that we can learn, from what are some of the examples, right? Before we do that, we talk about what is the story, right? So there's this. If you guys have heard of Nancy Duarte, she's she has an agency and she's master at providing presentations, coaching speakers. One of her famous work is like coaching Al Gore to talk about global warming. And, obviously Al Gore became very successful. That was his famous speech. Anyway, so she analyzed, how to build a story and actually leverage, this Freytag's, pyramid of what is a story, right? The story needs to have an opening. The story needs to have a conflict, right? And then the story needs to build up on the climax and then a resolution afterwards. So we'll think about it. So I have a little clip on her talking about Steve Jobs. I don't know if there's this famous video about Steve Jobs, right, introducing iPhone in 2007. So I'm not going to show that, but what I'm going to show is how she analyzed his speech, because Steve Jobs is master storyteller.
So he kicks off what could be. With this is the day I've been looking forward to for 2.5 years. So he's launching a product that he's known about already for a couple of years. So this is not a new product to him. But look at this. He does this other thing. He marvels. He marvels at his own product. He marvels himself more than the audience laughs or claps. So he's like, isn't it awesome? Isn't this beautiful? And he's modeling for the audience what he wants them to feel. So he is actually doing a job of compelling them to feel a certain way. So he kicks off with what could be. With every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything. So he starts to kick in and talk about his new product. Now, at the beginning of it, he actually keeps the phone off. You'll see that the line is pretty white up until this point. So he goes off between, here's this new phone, and here's the sucky competitors, and here's this new phone, and here's the sucky competitors. And then, right about here, he has a star moment. And that's something we'll always remember, because he turns the phone on. The audience sees scrolling for the first time. You can hear the oxygen suck down the room. They gasp. You can actually hear it. So he creates a moment that they'll always remember. So if we move along this model, you can see the blue where the external speakers are going, and then over towards the bottom right, the line break. That's because his clicker broke. So what does he do? He wants to keep this heightened sense of excitement. He tells a personal story right there where the technology didn't work. So he was a master communicator, and he turns to story to keep the audience involved. So the top right, he ends with the new bliss. He leaves them with a promise that Apple will continue to build revolutionary new products. And he says, there's an old Wayne Gretzky quote that I love. I skate to where the puck is going to be, not to where it's been. We've always tried to do that at Apple. From the very, very beginning, we always will. So he ends with the new list. The future isn't a place that we're going to go. It's a place that you get to create. I want to thank you.
It was a small clip, right? Because she actually, if you buy her book, she talks a lot more about that speech, because the speech itself was like 90 minutes. So I just wanted to kind of give you kind of the highlight on it. So, and if you think about, the story structure, how there was a setup, he would talk about like, it took him 2 years, right? The company 2 years to research on this product. And then, it was like, that was the beginning, right? Just beginning. And there was a conflict, obviously he was trying to find something to change the way, people do things, right? So, and he went on and talked about how, he was trying to build products, for the phone. He was trying to build products for a web, he called it web communicator. And also he was trying to build the iPod because he already had the iPod at the moment. So it was kind of a setup, and then it built into a climax where, he started showing this all-in-one, right, all three things together, and just really tease the audience, right, because they're showing that phone and not turn it on, actually. And then once he turns it on, that's the climax, right? The star moment that people see what it's like, and that kind of changes, obviously the way we use phones now. So and then what she described, he marvels, right? Because he would just talk about how great it was, and the struggle, because obviously it was 2 years, a lot of research. And nobody has done it before, and the company went behind it. All the struggles that he had to endure. And then he ended with like a promise. Hey, this is just the start. We're going to continue to do more research, and there's going to be more great products, right? So obviously, if you hadn't seen his speech or listened to it, I would recommend it. Yeah. So the other one, kind of more recent. So I don't know if anybody had gone to Amazon Go. Yeah, everybody had, or I don't know. Do you know what Amazon Go is? Okay. Yeah. So I thought that this ad was really good. So let me kind of play it here. Let's see here.
4 years ago, we started to wonder, what would shopping look like if you could walk into a store, grab what you want, and just go? What if we could weave the most advanced machine learning, computer vision, and AI into the very fabric of a store, so you never have to wait in line? No lines, no checkouts, no registers. Welcome to Amazon Go. Use the Amazon Go app to enter. Then put away your phone and start shopping. It's really that simple. Take whatever you like. Anything you pick up is automatically added to your virtual cart. If you change your mind about that cupcake, just put it back. Our technology will update your virtual cart automatically. So how does it work? We use computer vision, deep learning algorithms, and sensor fusion, much like you find in self-driving cars. We call it Just Walk Out technology. Once you've got everything you want, you can just go. When you leave, our Just Walk Out technology adds up your virtual cart and charges your Amazon account. Your receipt is sent straight to the app, and you can keep going. Amazon Go. No lines, no checkout. No, seriously.
So, kind of thinking about the basic story structure again, I think even this ad, you can see that They were setting it up. They said that, oh, okay, 4 years ago, okay, they didn't have it. They were struggling. They're trying to figure out something. And the problem was that people wanted convenience. They wanted to be able to go to the store and no lines. You know, they wanted to kind of check out very easily, right? And then that was the problem they were trying to solve. They didn't go on and say, you know, they have these technology, similar to self-driving cars. I know that's pretty cool here in the Silicon Valley. Probably people would be interested, but the audience is really about, hey, I wanted to be able to have the convenience, and then they just went on and talked about that problem first, and how it works, then talked about the features, right? The actual technology behind it. And then they ended again, right? Reinforcing, the problem they were trying to solve, which is no lines, right? No checkout, and just really quickly, people can just go. So I'm going to switch gears, right? Because the storytelling can apply to, not just from consumer products, but also for enterprise, and I work for enterprise. I know that's sometimes really hard to translate because, I don't know, a lot of enterprise products don't really, have a villain, right? So don't really, they may have problems, but so let's see this. Like, this is another ad, from Salesforce.
Business is changing fast. In this digital age, everyone and everything is connected, transforming the way we interact with our customers. Salesforce makes easy-to-use, cloud-based business applications that help you stay connected to your customers, prospects, partners, and more. It's the world's #1 CRM platform, enabling businesses to sell, service, and market like never before. And it's the customer success platform, helping you to connect to your customers in a whole new way. With Sales Cloud, you'll always have the information you need to close deals, collaborate and sell as a team, manage contacts and track opportunities, from first contact to final handshake. Service Cloud allows you to deliver a world-class customer service experience. Track customer activity across every channel, from online to on the line. Increase agent productivity and resolve issues fast to keep customers truly satisfied. With Marketing Cloud, you can create
Okay, this is going to go on and all these products. I don't know if anybody working for Salesforce. Okay, good. Because it's going to go on. They have a lot of products. So what I wanted to recap on is that the opening was that they say business is changing. They didn't say, oh, well, the current CRM system that you're using is bad, or how we're just so much better. We have all these features, right? So they started out with the problem, which is, the business is changing fast, right? And everyone and everything is connected. So they're saying that everyone and everything is connected. And that, one of the things that they're trying to help is Salesforce can now connect you to the customers better, right? So they start out with that. It's like telling the story. What is the problem that we're trying to solve? And how are they coming in, becoming a hero to help you with this problem? Then they go on and started showing their product and the features, and started going into the Sales Cloud. What exactly can they do, and show a little bit of a glimpse of the demo, and then the Service Cloud, right? So obviously, we need to connect on, hey, what's really, especially they're appealing to the CIOs, or perhaps, the CEOs of the companies. Well, what's really speaking, to them? What do they worry about, right? So we need to kind of think about, so that's what they're addressing. It's actually the people that are using Salesforce, that I've used Salesforce, I don't really like the products in some ways, but the CEOs and the CIOs are the ones that, hey, buying the product, thinking that Salesforce is the enterprise cloud ecosystem, because if you buy, their their product, everything's connected. Then I have data for everything, right? So now, after looking at these examples, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about how to become a storyteller. What is the trick? What are the tricks, right? And the secret behind this. And you probably already know this, right? You need to know your audience. Everybody knows this. Who are you talking to? Are you talking to the CEOs and the CIOs? Or are you talking to the engineering team that you're trying to build something with? So you need to know your audience and speak their dialect, right? So we need to be able to have multi-dialect. When we're talking to executives, selling our roadmaps, you need to sell how much, how this roadmap is going to transform the business, how much dollars is going to bring, to the business. When you're talking to the engineering team, convincing them why, they need to build something. And then you can't just say, well, this is going to change the business model, because they don't really understand. So, or maybe they do, but that's not the number one thing. Maybe what you can do is say, hey, this is actually going to be, we can reprioritize certain things, right? We can reprioritize certain features so that this is an easier feature and bringing a bigger, ROI than this other feature. So know your audience is important. Speak the dialect. And then structure the story. So I'm going to talk a little bit about structuring the story. And then if you've noticed the examples that I brought you, they chose the opening and the ending words very carefully, because people remember the opening, they don't, they remember the ending. They may not remember the middle. They may not, right? But the opening is very important. How Steve Jobs, even Nancy, analyzed, his first sentence, how that, it's been 2 years that he had that struggle, right? So that he opened with that. And then Amazon Go talked about, hey, this was 4 years, they worked on this. And Salesforce, the business, is changing, right? So opening words, very important. I know a lot of people, you probably, I try to practice it, right? You notice that when I come in here, I didn't say who I am, what I do. Probably don't need that, right? So you just jump right in, right? Jump right in, tell the story, because they remember the first sentence. And then the ending words. Like if you're giving a presentation, the ending is very important. Just like when you watch a show, people remember the final words. Like you saw Nancy, her TED Talk, how she ended up with Steve Jobs' quote, and how she wrapped up so beautifully, right? And you kind of remember that. And so the ending is also important. So if you were to practice your speech, I would say, and you don't have time, practice the beginning and practice the ending first. Then the middle, you can kind of wing it, if you don't have time. But very important that a lot of people practice the beginning and they don't practice the ending, right? So practice the ending. So the other point I wanted to make is Goldilocks theory of details. Goldilocks. Does anybody know what that means?
Goldilocks zone, like the habitable zone in the solar system?
No. Well, maybe. I don't know about that one. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So, it's the right amount of details, right? So a lot of people, what I've seen, some product managers go up to executives, and they go on and on, with the technology, right? Really deep into the technology. And executives just don't care. They just don't care. So you need to have the right amount of details for the right people. And then for some engineers or architects, they need the details. Don't just tell me that, oh, this is going to be, I can't think of a recent example, but sometimes, you need to jump on a whiteboard and start drawing stuff, and how it works and what the, architecture is going to be like, and brainstorm with the architect. So you just need to bring the right amount of details, because if you don't bring the right amount of details, you can't engage them, in the conversation. And same thing with the presentation. So structure, so the preparation is very important, right? Structure your presentation to know who you're presenting to, then the right amount of details, and then also practice, think very carefully about the opening and the ending. If you don't have time for the middle part, you can probably like wing it, but the opening and the ending would be very important. And then last but not least, we're product managers. We have to get feedback, right? Practice in front of people, colleagues, family, friends, whatever. Then get feedback, and then iterate and get better at things. That's no-brainer. So, back to the basic story structure. We've already seen it a few times. So how does it translate to product managers? What do we do? So the hero here most likely is the user, right? What does the user need to do? And the villain is the problem. We've got this, big gigantic problem. We don't have time to go to lunch, and there's long lines in San Francisco to get stuff, right? So Amazon Go. We just go and get it. And the guy here is the product. Right? Something that I need to practice while I preach. I just came back from from Las Vegas, and we had a 4-day sales conference, 30,000 people, been like demoing for 3 days, really exhausted. So what I'm currently doing is this customer experience portal. So I had to be able to talk about, to salespeople, what exactly that I'm delivering to the customer. So, and the problem is our customers have been, most of the time we are reactive, right? Our business is that when, for support, the customers have a problem, they call us. So my job is to digitize the support. And then also going from reactive to more proactive and predictive. And so what we're doing, with this portal that I'm, product managing is, it becomes a single portal. It offers much more than just a reactive, because we have things that we can monitor and provide them signals and alerts, before something bad happens. And so that they can continue to have their uptime and performance, and there's nothing is going to break, right? So, and that's what I've been doing, and talking to all the salespeople. And one of the biggest problems, and people, industry knows, and the Cisco customers know, is that we have so many portals. So we emphasize single portal, single portal, single portal, so that they are so happy to know that, yeah, we're going to consolidate everything, because now it's all API based, and that it doesn't matter what they purchase, because we'll personalize it, customize it. So that's what I preach. So some kind of parting thoughts, before we end here. Again, back to the beginning, product manager, our job, I think there are two things, right? One is get the product to the market, and then the other one is communicate to our customers to buy them. So I consider that that's both art and science, of the job. And so I hope you all can master the art of telling the story, so that you can sell your products, right? Thank you. So some further, if you hadn't heard of Nancy Duarte, she is really great. She has 2 books out. I think there's also an app on Illuminate. Master storyteller, right? So I think I didn't touch on the storytelling with data, because the right size details, because otherwise I would go into another hour of doing that. But there is a book called Storytelling with Data. So I encourage you guys to check it out as well. Any questions?
How important is storytelling when it comes on to communicating a product idea to your engineering team?
Very important. I mean, you're constantly selling. Well, when they say like communicate to customers, you actually communicate to everybody. You have to communicate to your engineering team. You have to communicate to executives. You have to communicate to your stakeholders. You have to communicate to customers, and in our case, partners, everybody. So, have to adjust your story every time, right? Because your engineering team needs to know why they're building something. Because once they know why, then they can kind of collaborate with you to build something. They may be able to contribute some ideas that you hadn't thought of, but if they are just taking orders, then they wouldn't be able to volunteer, new ideas. Yeah. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
You mentioned to practice in front of your colleagues or
Yep.
family or whatever. What other practices would you recommend to improve our storytelling?
Yeah, I mean, every time that you give a presentation, in a hopefully safe environment, you don't, I wouldn't ask the customers like, how did I do? But in a safe environment, if you're with another colleague or if you're comfortable with your boss, then you should ask him or her, right? How did I do? What can I improve on? And then sometimes, like, if you're bold, you can record it and then listen to it and say, okay, once you listen to it, then you can play, you can then pretend to be the other end, right, the audience, and then you can critique yourself. But that's painful sometimes, yeah. But that is one way to improve, yeah.
Do you have an example of like a story that you've told like executives, like
yeah.
How would you gear your story towards them? Like, what are the things that you see them needing to know in order for them to feel good about what you're doing to get buy-in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Every day, right?
Yeah.
So first of all, know your audience, right? You need to know what's top of mind on your executives, right? So what's top of mind? You kind of have to know, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
You said normally like it's just a direction, maybe it's growth, and then maybe they'll have a metric or something.
Yeah, whatever it is, right? There must be like a few things. I mean, not like everything, right? There must be like one or two or three things that is top of mind on their mind, right? And then knowing that, then you start with how it relates. Well, how are you going to help them with solving a problem that's top of mind, right? How solving their problems, or perhaps a related idea, right? You need to make that connection to what's top of mind.
Sure.
Then you go on and talk a little bit about what you're doing related, because you've got to start with what's important to them. Because if you don't do that,
Right.
you just lost them.
Right.
Yeah, they don't care. Yeah, they're not here to solve your problem. You're solving their problems.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And doing that, do you find yourself doing more like formal storytelling, like in meetings and everything, or do you kind of do it informally as well, like if someone's asking a question like how your project's going, and trying to like buy-in like that as well?
Well, I mean, I think it depends, right? Again, on the situation. So if it's just an update, you don't need to go into a story, right? But if you are given a presentation opportunity, then you need to structure it into a story, because then you have the time to prepare it and actually go into, again, I mean, what's top of mind, for some of the, whether it's executives or engineering team or designers or whoever that you're talking to. Then you go in and talk about what you need to talk about to convince them. So yeah, but if you can do it impromptu, that's great. But yeah.
Sorry, so do you prefer using PowerPoint to assist you with that, or is there like a different medium you prefer?
So as a matter of fact, some people told me that a great storyteller do not need PowerPoints. So you should be able to tell your story without any PowerPoints. But however, I know we are all like attached, to PowerPoints, and kind of PowerPoints can be kind of prompting you to say what you need to say. And that's another thing that I didn't go into details, is that the visual presentation is also very important. Simplify, right? I've seen a lot of people that they go on and it's like an eye chart. You know, they put, I don't know, like 30 different features, you know, on the slide and expect that, you know, people are going to get it. So as much as possible, simplify your visual, because you don't want people to be reading your PowerPoint slides. You want them to be listening to you talk about the story, right? Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah.
When it comes to written content and building a story,
Yeah.
are there certain things that tend to work really well for you from a, kind of in the marketing process, like a solution brief, case study? Are you looking to build those things into your strategy?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be very subtle. I'm not going to say, oh, you know, who's our hero here, you know, or who's the problem. But it's very subtle, right? So even the ring example that I gave you, so the founder came in and said, oh, yeah, we're solving this neighborhood crime problem. So he with one sentence, like he kind of already painted the picture of what exactly he's coming in to do, right? And also what's the problem. So kind of think about it, build it in, right? As few words as possible, as simplified as possible. But you need to achieve the effect of painting the problem and how you're saving the day. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I guess my question is similar to what you just said. I was going to ask, do you think it's when you're telling your story, is it a better idea to introduce your product right away, or can it take time to set up your problem inside your story?
So I think that you know, this is style, right? It's just how you are comfortable in style. But you know, to me, it's very important to parachute in and just say what the problem is first, right? I mean, that's why I admire that example about Ring, right? Is like, again, he didn't say, I'm building doorbells, right? And security cameras. Boring, right? So he just said, I'm solving the neighborhood crime problem. Oh, okay, you got my attention, right? So that's my style, that I like to just go into the problem first, because the problem kind of, it's what people relate to and have an emotional response to, like, oh yeah, you know, I'm definitely, I want to solve this, you know, crime problem. Then once you connect with them, then you say, okay, what is your product? How can it help? Yeah. So the how, like the features, is really should come later. Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah. The feedback. Well, I mean, the most rewarding is like they accept the proposal and they get it, right? Because a lot of times with executives, you know, I don't know about you guys, but at Cisco, it's like, oh, okay, you get like 10 minutes, right? And so you need to kind of be very succinct and be able to kind of connect with them right away, and they get it. And that's, I can't think of an example because I kind of do it every day. But then, you know, if there's a particular thing that they're looking for, and you can do it in like 5-10 minutes, and they get it and they're like, yeah, go for it. That means you got their attention, they got it, and that's you know, even if they don't give you the feedback, you just like, yeah, I did my job, right? So if they start saying, oh, let's schedule a meeting, you know, to talk about this, or we need to workshop this, that means they don't get it. Yeah. So.
I also have a question. For example, if my application has like a lot of technical stuff, technical details, it's like application for engineers for code debugging. So should I like give? I cannot like use all these emotions and lyrics. They just need me like tell them technical details. So it's kind of sounds like a different story So I should have like a separate story for CEO and separate story for
Absolutely, yeah.
developers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They have different pain points.
How then I can just not to overload my story with details because they still need it. I mean, to involve them into.
Yeah. So you know, like I think similar to what I sell, right? I sell to my.
Simplified though, right?
Yeah, exactly. So similar to, I would give you an example. What I do. My customers are network engineers. So I'm not going to be able to come in and say what the Cinderella Snow White story that will that will influence them. So I need to know what their pain points, right? Their pain point is I don't really want to open a support ticket, and that takes like a day or two for somebody to get back to me. Their pain point is I want to get an answer right away. So, and it's like, hey, I talked to customers. I went to, a few months ago, I went to a conference, and the customer's like, I know what you need to do. You just want an answer. You don't care. You really don't want to open support ticket. And they say, yeah, And what if I tell you that we are able to get your telemetry data and then be able to provide you with the insights automatically? Without you having to lift a finger, what would that look like? And they're like, yeah, that'll be great. And then I show them, stuff like software recommendation and things like that. And there's like, and you don't have to open a service ticket. And you can just log in here and look it up. And you can look it up by, this is technical, right? Serial number and what equipment, and then look it up. So they're like, oh yeah, this is great. So yes, you as product managers, we need to understand our customer pain points, and then from the pain points, you speak to how your solution is going to help them, right? So, and sometimes it's going to be a little bit more technical, like you need to be able to show them exactly what what it's going to look like, yeah. So, but that would be my example, yeah. And then for executives, it's different. Yeah, totally. Any other questions? Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say is like the right amount of detail for like another product manager? Because like if you're in an interview, I mean they're not the executive, they're not the engineer. Like, do they typically want something pretty high level? Do they want you to pitch them like an executive most of the time? Like, let's say you were doing an interview, maybe.
If you're doing an interview, right? Yeah. So you're doing a job interview?
Yeah.
Okay. So it depends on what kind of job interview it is, right? So there's like product strategy interviews. There's just for like PM, maybe. There's still going to be. I mean, based on the questions that they ask, you kind of understand what they're looking for, right? Or what type of interview that is. They may be asking you for product strategy. They may be asking you for, can you figure out product metrics, right? Execution. Sure. So need to kind of, if you don't understand, you need to ask. Like, oh, are you trying to ask me to come up with some metrics, right? And then if they are, then you need to go into the details of how you come up with the metrics, right? If they're asking you, hey, I've got this problem, or our company has this, trying to solve this problem. How would you go about solving it? That's a product strategy question. Then you recognize that. Then you need to like not go into painfully details on how to code it. So yeah, and then ask like, is this? I mean, if you don't know, ask, right? Yeah, yeah. Any other questions? So yeah.
So if I'm trying to tell a story for a product that's directly to the customer, so let's say they already have a very added service product they're using currently. So how do I incorporate that? Do I incorporate that into my storytelling to like create a comparison? And not make myself look like the evil? But how do you balance that? Oh,
okay. So that you're not the villain, right? So yes, you need to know your audience. Your customers are currently using something else, right? Or that they're familiar with your competitors' products. you need to now understand how your product is going to be different, right? What is it that the extra, value add that you're selling? What is the belt on top of the competitors? There must be something. I mean, the world is full of problems. It's not possible that your competitors solve everything, right? So then, obviously, whatever they're using for your competitors' products is already, there's some value there. But what are some of the additional things that your competitors have not solved? Then you go for that. And then say, hey, by the way, we can solve that. And we can also do these other things really well, too. I know that you have your competitor, I know that you're using this, but we can do all those. That's basic, right? And then on top of that, we can provide these extra value. So your angle is not how you are competing in the same space. You're competing in the additional value that you're providing to the customers. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes having said the product can be kind of like out of date, meaning that a solution was already offered.
Yes.
And you're like, I have this technology, and how do I tell my story? How do you shift the story to still, present it to the audience?
Mm-hmm. So that your product is already out of date.
Yeah, let's say
okay.
Go ahead with already
Yeah.
out by
Yeah.
some money.
Yeah. You're a latecomer, right? Somebody is already. Think about it, because sometimes customers buy something isn't just because the product itself. It isn't just about the technology. Especially true in enterprise customers, right? They're buying Cisco products because they have a relationship. They have a relationship, they're used to it, there's certain sunk cost, that they've already trained the people on the product itself. There must be something else around the product that's of value to your customers. Then you need to identify those. Right. Again, your new villain is not so much as the targeted, technology, but also all these other things, right? Could it be the ordering process? Could it be the logistics? Could it be customer service? Could it be other things that you can win out on your competitors? So think about those, and then maybe, and if you know that this customer, if you're talking to a customer that are frustrated because of, this is a better product, but their customer service sucks, then you can win out, based on that, right? That you can offer something better. But you need to know. I mean, you have to do your homework to understand how you compare to the competitors. Yeah. I mean, and if everything is still behind, then maybe sheer fact that you have better relationship with them, right? Because they don't want to switch because you just, they enjoy your company, right? We have that. Yeah. I think if there's no more questions, we can end. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.